My wildlife photos didn't improve because of better gear. They improved because I changed how I edit. So these are the 2 editing tips that actually improved my wildlife photos. So the first tip is called dodge and burn, or shape in the light, or whatever you want to call it. For me, shape in the light is what gives the image depth and a more cinematic 3-dimensional look. Okay, so now we're going to shaping the light, and I do that with mask because I want to do it manually. And if we do this with mask, that's how we can create that depth in the image. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and hopefully we are going to plant a seed in your hand, så ett frö, that we say in Swedish, to create an idea how you can do it for yourself. So I'm going to start here with the mask. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a light source. So I'm just going to do that with a linear gradient here, and I'm going to do it from the right side of the image. So I'm not just going to drag up the exposure here. And then we have these rocks in the foreground. So I'm going to use a linear gradient for this one, and I'm going to do like a manual vignette around the photo there the stones is, so we can have more focus on the mouse. So I'm going to drag the exposure down both sides. You can also see that over the head on the mouse we had a space there I don't want the focus to be, so we're going to drag that space also down. But this is a little harder than the stones because we don't have any things to darken down, it's just an empty, you know what I mean. To make it appear more naturally, I'm going to use a radial gradient for this one. So I'm just going to place it there, darken down this area a little bit, and just to make the mouse appear more on screen, we're going to use a radial gradient on the mouse to higher up the exposure and the clarity a bit. So, and there we have not the final image, but after the changes that we did with all the mask to change the light and feeling in the photo. So I'm going to demonstrate how I shape the light in this image as well. The fox looks kinda angry. Do I have the guts to take on this edit? Of course I have. So I'm going to start with a radial gradient as well for this image, and this time I know that the light is coming from the left in this case. So we are going to higher up the exposure. But now when we change the light for this image, I'm going to do a completely different way. So in the last image we used linear gradients to kind of create a vignette, but that's when we had clear foreground elements to place the linear vignettes. But in this case, well, we have a foreground element, and of course we can use a linear gradient and put it on as you see here, and we can have that as a start. But overall in the other parts of the image it's going to be very hard, so that's why I'm going to use the brush to paint in all the shadows, both on the fox and on the background and the foreground. And that is a bit tricky to do, so you're just going to see a speed art of this. I'm going to do the same with the highlights as well, but this is in a more detailed way to shape the light than in the last photo. The one tip that I have for this is to look where the light is and how the shadows is reacting to the environment in the photo, and if you understand that, you're going to get better in this technique. But here you can see the original without any changes, and here you can see the after, and you can see that it just pops a little bit more with the shadows and the highlights, you can see that it has a little more depth. So tip number 2 is about color grading. For me, color grading is what makes the image feel clean and professional. And that's because you can make colors feel consistent throughout the whole photo. And that's what I really like about color grading. So I have now go back to this mouse photo that we have here, because the colors are absolutely trash in this mouse photo. So we're going to fix it with some color grading. So the first thing I'm going to do, we are not going to put any mask on color grading, we're just going to go to the simple tab. Here it affects the whole photo, and we're going to go down to colors. So the first thing is this färgblandaren. It says in Swedish, this is the English word, and here we have a lot of different colors that we can change. This has an orange theme to it, and we're going to higher that up because I want to increase the orange colors. But I don't want the green theme in this photo. I want more an orange theme, so I'm going to drag the yellow colors more towards the orange. I really like orange. I don't want to have small blue areas randomly in the photo because it doesn't look clean. So that's why I'm dragging down the blues. Now we're going to go down here to these 3 circles, and here is create that atmosphere in the photo, and we can really set the colors for either the shadows, the middle tones or the highlights. It just enhances the atmosphere just a little bit. So now we come to the last tab. This lets you put a marker on specifically that color that you want to adjust. I'm going to do this marker, and I'm going to put this marker on a beige yellow orange tone because that is what rule the image. We can drag up the saturation a bit, and then we come to the last slide. It's called variance. You can see that a lot of things happen, and I really love how it affects the photo, so I'm going to enhance that a little bit. For the whole color grading, this is the before and this is the after, and here you can also see the whole before and after. So here is the before, the original, and here is the after, and this change is only by shaping the light and by color grading, and that's why it's so powerful. And this was all for the video, so thank you, and I hope that you learned something or got inspired in some way to use this in your own editing. And take care, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.